Chapter 112 of Married Thrice to Salted Fish. The Empress Dowager was still teaching Jiang Shen the most basic reading and writing when Lin Qingyu already had a grand plan. On this day, while Jiang Shen was taking his afternoon nap, Lin Qingyu went to Xi'an Palace to visit the Empress Dowager. The Empress Dowager was admiring a poem copied by Jiang Shen. When she saw him coming in, she said with a smile, "Qingyu, come quickly and have a look. The Emperor's handwriting is so good, so full of vigor." Lin Qingyu glanced at it. Jiang Shen had obviously deliberately written it in a rounded, childish way. Only the Empress Dowager would find any sort of vigor in it. "Your Highness, since the Emperor can now read and write, it is time to invite an imperial instructor to teach the Emperor." The Queen Mother hesitated and said, "The Emperor is still young. Letting him stay by Aja's side and learn from Aja isn't a bad thing, no? I'm afraid there are some things that you cannot teach him." The Empress Dowager couldn't hide her distress. "But the Emperor, he's still a child." Lin Qingyu reminded her, "The Emperor will be 18 at the end of the year." They didn't know if this was a coincidence, but Shaoli and Jiang Shen's birthdays were on the same day. "You can't say that," the Empress Dowager said reproachfully. "Although the Emperor is almost 18, mentally he is like a child of 7 or 8 years old. Our imperial princess starts schooling at 5. The Emperor is already 7 or 8 years old. If you continue to pamper him, do you mean to let others secure the country for him for the rest of his life?" Lin Qingyu's words were a bit harsh, and the Empress Dowager had taken on a somewhat ugly expression. But this argument was reasonable. If the Emperor wanted to secure his position on the throne, the sooner he took charge, the better. After deliberating, the Empress Dowager said, "Do you have a candidate for the Emperor's teacher?" Lin Qingyu quickly found a suitable candidate. Guan Zhongkai, who wrote poems at the age of 3, recited rhapsodies at the age of 5, successfully passed the provisional level examination at a tender age, and then went on to palace first in the imperial examinations. During the reign of the previous emperor, he was in charge of the Privy Council, and he held key positions in the Ministry of Appointments and the Ministry of Revenue. He retired due to old age and returned to his hometown 5 years ago. He is now an elder of 65. This person was Li Chan's mentor and was recommended by Li Chan to Lin Qingyu. Prime Minister Lin personally wrote a letter, sincere and humble, inviting Senior Guan back to capital to take up the post of imperial instructor. One day, Jiang Shen had been at the Empress Dowager's palace, able to pass by simply casually writing a few words. The next, he had a whole new erudite and informed imperial instructor. Lin Qingyu said, "From now on, His Majesty shall no longer go to Xi'an Palace for his studies. The Emperor shall study as the Dayu's princes do." Guan Taifu had head of crane white hair and a bearing like that of a pine tree. He looked like an immortal wise man stepped out of a fairy tale. He also treated everyone courteously. "This minister, Guan Zhongkai, greets His Majesty." Jiang Shen had a bad premonition, but nevertheless, he still equally courteous returned the salute. After all, no matter what era he was in, respect for one's teachers seemed to be something deeply ingrained in his bones. Then he turned to Lin Qingyu and said in the childish tone of a 7-year-old, "Prime Minister Gege, please come here." Lin Qingyu was pulled aside by Jiang Shen. "What?" Jiang Shen asked in a low voice. "How exactly do the Dayu's princes study?" Every day at Yunshi, they prepare for the classes ahead. Classes officially start at Maushi and last until noon. Hearing the word Yunshi, Jangshan almost couldn't breathe. No, Chingyu, I'm still growing. If I don't sleep enough, I might not grow taller. Lin Chingyu looked up at him. In the afternoon, princes usually take riding and archery lessons. But you have done enough archery and horse riding in your previous life, so you can skip it this time. Then, can I have the afternoons off? Lin Chingyu said cruelly. You will continue your studies in the afternoon. Jiangshan laughed in anger. You want me to go back to the third year? I think he meant senior year. Jiangshan and Lin Qingyu had once talked about his studies in his hometown, and so Lin Qingyu knew a thing or two about it. His Majesty is overthinking matters. When you were in your third year of high school, how many days off did you get every month? Jiangshan looked defensive. 8 days? Lin Qingyu smiled and said, Princes only get 2 days off every year, one on the first day of the Lunar New Year and the other on the prince's birthday. Jiangshan choked. Even the cows in the fields don't plow so much. I'm already the emperor. Why do I have to suffer like this? Because you are the emperor, you have to learn more than others. But I just want to be a good for nothing emperor. Then what about your country? Lin Qingyu was cold and contemptuous. You want to rely on me for the rest of your life? How's the soft rice? Is it good? Jiangshan smiled and said, It's quite delicious. Lin Qingyu threw him a sharp look, eyes like blades, and Jiangshan quickly changed his words again. Qingyu, have you ever heard the saying of governing by non-interference? To follow the natural course of things? I think, Lin Qingyu said, you study during the day, but you still have time to play at night. Then, will you play with me? I could if I'm not busy. Jiangshan sighed and compromised. All right. I mean, that sounds brutal. You have to wake up like from 3 to 5 in the morning to start your classes, and oh my gosh, that's so much of work. And you get 2 days off for the entire year? 2 days? I don't think I would have survived that much of studying. Oh gosh, no way. I cannot do it. Our poor Jiang Gongzi. I don't know how he will handle it. Hopefully he will just skip the grades quickly and he just skims through all the information quickly and passes his high school in Dayu. Whether Jiangshan was willing or not, his days of strenuous study had fallen onto his physically 17-year-old body and his mentally 20-year-old mind. Though he'd learned some basics when he was in his hometown, it was limited to occasionally memorizing a couple lines of poem to flirt with his wife. When it came to recognizing and choosing the proper words, he was far from the level of Dayu's prominent homegrown scholars. Guan Zhongkai was undoubtedly a good teacher, but he lectured in a monotonous tone of voice, making Jiangshan very drowsy. Lin Qingyu hadn't arranged for any study companions for Jiangshan. He was the only student in his classes. He tried his very hardest not to fall asleep, and sometimes this truly was a superhuman feat. Fortunately, he was the emperor, not a prince. He had no imperial father asking after his studies, and the Empress Dowager was capable only of excessive doting. Though his wife asked after his studies from time to time, he had his ways to distract Lin Qingyu. After studying like this for 3 months, Lin Qingyu proposed taking Jiangshan to attend court with him. Jiangshan was not at all interested. He said, a completely disinterested expression on his face. It doesn't matter whether I go or not. Anyway, you are there. Lin Qingye had already seen through Jiang Sheng. This person has always been like this when it came to things he had no interest in. But so long as he knew it was his responsibility, no matter how lazy he was, he would eventually reluctantly do it and do it well. This was true of marching and fighting and so. It would also be true of governing the country. If Jiang Shen could perform so well on tasks he had no interest in, one could only imagine the results he could achieve in matters he did have an interest in. It was a pity that Jiang Shen didn't seem interested in anything other than sleeping in bed and bedding him. Lin Qingye said, "Just go and listen in. It wouldn't harm and might even be beneficial." "All right, I will listen to the madam during the day." Lin Qingye felt something wasn't right. He asked, "What about at night?" Jiang Shen smiled and said, "Of course, I will also listen to the madam at night." Lin Qingye, ... He's already started talking nonsense again. I wish the author had taken a couple of notes from Meat Bun, because the amount of, adulterated stuff I'm getting is like one sentence, and that's also super ambiguous. And Meat Bun goes on with chapters and chapters questioning your morals and whatnot. And here I am thinking, wait, what did they do exactly? Well, I already decided what kind of novel this is going to be, so yeah. I know, I'm just asking for too much. And sometimes it's better for not pushing authors to do something that they're not comfortable with. So I'm okay. At least the story is super good with the politics and a sweet couple. So I will take it. It's okay. Jiang Shen was woken up early in the morning, and everyone involved in his morning routine was thrown into a frenzy. After dressing up, he was helped into the emperor's sedan chair and delivered to the throne room where morning court was held. He sat at the highest point of the Golden Lawn Hall, looking at the officials boredly through the bead curtain of his crown. After Emperor Chushi abdicated, there were many changes among the officials in court. Lin Qingyu and the Empress Dowager suppressed a number of old officials and promoted many newcomers, including many who, like Li Chan, were not only young and talented but handsome as well. But Lin Qingyu was still the most outstanding. He was the most eye-catching. One might even go so far as to say that he was a crane among a flock of chickens. Lin Qingye was calm, cold, and detached in court. He was reticent, saying no more than necessary, and he exuded an imposing aura. He was a completely different person from the one in Jiang Shen's arms. While admiring his wife's beauty, Jiang Shen listened to the discussions of the ministers and surprisingly didn't feel the least bit sleepy. When the court was over, the young emperor, who hadn't said anything throughout, suddenly said, "Prime Minister, are you not tired from standing?" Lin Qingye said, replying to the emperor, "This minister is not tired. But looking at you makes Zhen feel tired." Jiang Shen seemed innocent and artless, ignorant of worldly affairs. From now on, the Prime Minister will sit down while conducting court. The hall felt instantly silent. Lin Qingye looked up at Jiang Shen, knelt down and saluted. "I thank His Majesty for his kindness." After this day, there appeared an extra wooden armchair in the Golden Lawn Hall. Everyone knew that until the emperor takes over the reins of government, this wooden armchair that Prime Minister Lin Zhang sits upon is the actual dragon throne. After court, Lin Qingyu finally had some free time, and so he invited Guan Zhongkai to ask about Jiangxin studies. Guan Taifu, how does His Majesty studies? Guan Zhongkai appeared embarrassed. That, Lin Qingyu said. I asked Guan Taifu to speak freely. Guan Zhongkai shook his head. To tell you the truth, the emperor doesn't pay much attention to his schoolwork. If wholeheartedly is 100%, he at most spends 50. However, his writings are not bad. He answers every question and I can find no fault in them. This old man truly does not know how to admonish His Majesty. The corners of Lin Qingyu's lips ticked up. The emperor has always been like this. I think His Majesty is very talented. If he could but focus on his studies, he would certainly not be any less than the former crown prince. Lin Qingyu pondered. I see. With the coming of summer, Lin Qingyu's workload grew heavier. Safer in morning court, Jiang Xin could catch neither hide nor hair of him the rest of the day. He did panic at first, thinking that in any case, Lin Qingyu would go to Xinqing Palace to sleep at night. Who would have thought that he waited until the point of falling asleep and Lin Qingyu had yet to make an appearance? After asking Shao Songxi, he learned that Lin Qingyu was still in Xinjiang Hall and seemed to be dealing with work. Jiang Xin, who could not sleep alone, changed his clothes and headed to Xinjiang Hall, where he saw Lin Qingyu working through the night alone. There seemed to be an endless amount of reports to answer, an endless list of official documents to fill out. His silhouette of hard work and toil fell by the window. Seeing him, Jiang Xin's body and mind both felt tired and distressed. When did his wife become a corporate drone? Jiang Xin walked in and said, Qingyu, are you still busy? Lin Qingyu didn't even lift his head and simply uttered a cold, Jiang Xin pulled out the chair beside him and sat down. I will keep you company. No need, you can go and play. Jiang Xin frowned. I won't. We haven't seen each other for more than 20 hours. Don't you miss me? Of course he missed him. How could he not? Jiang Xin didn't know how hard he had to work to stop himself from looking for him. All right, Lin Qingyu said. You can stay if you want, but don't disturb me. Jiang Xin saw the exhaustion between Lin Qingyu's brows and in his eyes. He asked, Qingyu, how much more do you have to read through? Can I help you? A smile flashed in Lin Qingyu's eyes. No, you won't understand. Jiang Xin smiled and said, Please forgive me for being immodest, but I think I can manage. I can understand some of it. Your current focus should be on your studies. Wait until Guan Taifu says you're ready. It won't be too late for you to share my worries and difficulties for me then. Jiang Xin had a sudden realization and said, long and drawn out, Prime Minister Lin seemed to have changed tactics in his quest to motivate me to study. Lin Qingyu's expression remained indifferent. Then, is His Majesty willing to study hard? Jiang Xin sighed. I'm really not interested, but for you, all right. Shao Songxi, bring me that Shailun that I haven't finished reading today. Shailun is more like a essay on current affairs presented to the emperor as advice on government policy. It had been a scorching summer day. It was now followed by a heavy rain accompanied by the sound of muffled thunder. Outside the window came the sound of pattering rain. Jiang Xing and Lin Qingyu sat together, shared a single lantern. One read a book while the other managed government affairs. Their arms brushed from time to time. Jiang Xing grew tired of reading. As soon as he raised his eyes, he caught sight of the person he liked. Momentarily entranced, he felt an inexplicable throbbing. It was like he really had turned into his 17-year self. He couldn't help calling, Qingyu? Huh? As soon as Lin Qingyu raised his head, a kiss landed on his lips. The two of them have shared countless heated kisses, but Jiang Xing would always catch him off guard with it, making him blush and his heart beat faster. Lin Qingyu had no idea how he does it. Was it because of his face? Lin Qingyu's mind was giving way to foolish fancies, but his tone remained calm. Kissing and kissing. Don't you get tired of it? After giving it serious thought, Jiang Xing replied, It does get boring. Lin Qingyu's eyes turned sharp as knives. Say that again? I think I'm getting tired of dating. How about we get married a little earlier? Jiang Xing said with a smile. I'm going to be 22 soon. I'm old enough to get a marriage certificate in my hometown. Lin Qingyu was taken aback. Jiang Xing has returned to Shaoli's body for some time now, but he never thought about it. Unlike the previous two times, Jiang Xing was now the emperor. Even if the number of male wives in the Dayu was increasing day by day, the emperor was not in any position to take on a male wife. His wife would be empress, a model for all women. Even if his wife could be a man, it certainly couldn't be one who'd been twice widowed. Lin Qingyu was already very satisfied with the status quo. So long as he could be with Jiang Xing, his status mattered not to him. Of course, he wouldn't let Jiang Xing take on someone else as his empress. If the worst comes to worst, he would stick a few needles into Jiang Xing. Wait, are you going to make him impotent again? Lin Qingyu smiled lightly and shook his head. You are the emperor and I'm your minister. How are we to get married? Jiang Xing smiled. He lowered his head and continued reading. Let me think. There will always be a way. Well, if Xiaocheng was able to do it, I'm pretty sure Jiang Xing can also do it. But I'm kind of thinking a little bit about the Empress Dowager. We have a lot more chapters to go through, and we still haven't used the baby goo we have been raising for so many freaking years. So I'm thinking, what is this peace? What is this ending feeling, but which is not truly an ending?